numbers are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
That was Donald Trump making a pitch to African Americans this week, saying Democrats haven't produced for them. He promised that in 4 years he would win 95% of the black vote. Joining me to talk about this and much more is Martin O'Malley, former Maryland governor and Democratic presidential candidate. Corey Lewandowski, former Trump campaign manager and CNN commentator, who we should note is still receiving severance payments from the campaign. Andre Bauer, CNN political commentator, and Symone Sanders, former press secretary to Bernie Sanders. I have to start with you. What do you think about the outreach? Do you think there's a chance it's going to work?
Well, I think outreach is an interesting word to use, Dana. I wouldn't use that word at all. Look, I think a little bit of rhetoric from Donald Trump is not going to erase what we already know about him. This is the man that started his campaign saying Mexicans are rapists and they're taking our jobs. He has built a campaign of divisive rhetoric, of inflammatory rhetoric, of at times racist rhetoric. And what we saw last week is it wasn't real outreach. All of the speeches that Donald Trump gave were to predominantly white crowds. And if Donald Trump is very interested in reaching out to communities of color, specifically African Americans, perhaps he should have taken invitations from some of these minority-serving organizations that asked him to come speak: the Urban League, the NAACP, the National Association of Black Journalists and Hispanic Journalists. So I find it very hard to believe that Donald Trump is interested. Secondly, it is not only disingenuous, but downright insulting the way in which Donald Trump has chosen to do this quote-unquote outreach. Your schools are failing. You have no jobs. Does Donald Trump think all black people are poor? And furthermore, that all black people are Democrats? Because they're not. So I really think that the Republican Party and the Trump campaign, for that matter, they have to take a very hard look at what outreach looks like, what their definition of outreach is. I know there's some very capable people that they have now hired at the committee, and that they're not letting them do their job.
Let me get Corey in there.
You know what is amazing is the hypocrisy of these statements. Donald Trump is saying, we want to include African Americans as part of the GOP. The Democrats have failed you, they've taken advantage of you, and now he's being criticized for asking for their support, when the criticism prior to that was he's done nothing to reach out to them. When the criticism, Donald Trump yesterday spent some time in New York having a leadership meeting with his prominent Hispanics from across the country, talking about what he can do as the next president to make sure that they have their interests represented. And we don't see any of that. What we have is the hypocrisy of saying, we don't like the way he's doing, as opposed to saying, you know what, it's about time, it's a good thing, and growing and asking people to be part of the GOP, reminding them that it's the party of Lincoln, is a very good thing for the party, and it's a good thing for the country. So the hypocrisy of the way it's done is ridiculous.
Dana, it would be a good thing were it not for the fact of the total hypocrisy of Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump cannot talk about the party of Lincoln. Donald Trump's immigrant bashing and racist rhetoric would make Lincoln roll over in his grave, Corey. I mean, the fat truth of the matter is Donald Trump wouldn't even repudiate the support from a Klan leader. He retweets racist mimes that are put out, and he says, oh, I'm not really making that up, Corey. He says, these are just things I'm repeating that other people do. And I don't think that was really outreach to the very diverse African-American voters throughout this country. That was a reinforcement of a stereotype about black people generally. I mean, you want to see some success of the American dream? Look at so many of the African-American families here in Maryland. Look at those young people in the Olympics winning gold medals. That's what our country's about.
Andre, before I bring you in,